Good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you're listening or watching from. I want to welcome Catherine. She's doing this recording for TeachMeet Melbourne specifically. I'm going to let Catherine introduce herself and her topic, and when you're ready.
Thank you, Monique. My name's Catherine Royans. I'm a teacher. I graduated about 12 years ago and I've been teaching science and maths ever since. One of my main drives to become a teacher was always to be encouraging the next generation of girls to pursue their science, technology, engineering and maths dreams. And as part of that journey, I've been looking at what is it that actually drives girls to go into those fields and what is it that's been stopping them and has decreased their confidence of going into those. And after a little while, I'd found that self-efficacy, the girls' self-efficacy was really, really lacking, particularly in their ability to do maths and then in those harder sciences that we talk about in regards to physics and tech and engineering. And so I went down that path looking into self-efficacy, and one of the things that really started coming out is cognitive load. So I started with this topic and I'm now looking at how cognitive load theory and creativity interact in the STEM, maths, tech classrooms. So cognitive load, a bit of a background. In the 1960s, it was found that people have a working memory and we can hold about 7 items in our working memory at any one time. So 7 plus or minus 2, depending on who you are. It's how we remember phone numbers in groups of 2s, 3s or 4s, and then we connect and chunk that information together. So it's part of our learning process that we learn smaller amounts of information, we transfer that into our long-term memory, and then we're able to recall it in chunks to then integrate it when we're learning new information. As part of that, our cognitive load is actually impacted by the self-efficacy and vice versa when we're learning. So if we've got greater confidence in our learning and our confidence in our ability to do it, our cognitive load is reduced. And it's also the vice versa. When our cognitive load is reduced, it's been found that our self-efficacy increases. Now, obviously, there is a connection between self-efficacy and creativity. So if you are feeling confident in your creativity and you feel confident that you are going to be able to be creative in a particular environment, then your creativity will actually be better. And so putting these two things together, that's where we come into the STEAM and STEM classrooms. Sometimes as teachers, we're providing our students so much information at once that they're overloaded. They go into cognitive overload. They can no longer take in that extra information. They no longer are able to actually process what we're actually trying to give them in regards to the information and the processes that we're trying to teach them. And so as creativity is so vital to having the information behind us, the suggestion now is that teaching the students the information they need, being able to chunk it into bite-sized pieces for our students so that they can take in that information, they can transfer it into their long-term memory, and then using randomness as a genesis principle, which is essentially saying throwing out ideas and seeing what happens. And we see that when we get students to just throw out ideas in class, or we get them to do brainstorming on a piece of paper or up on a board. By doing that knowledge gain first, we can then ensure that their creativity is maximized by being able to provide them with the most amount of knowledge that they can throw out to then ensure that that creativity, when we come to those creative problem-solving activities towards the middle and end of our topics, is most beneficial. So this is part of the research process that I'm going through at the moment, where I'm looking at tying in, seeing what happens with our cognitive load and how we're teaching our students, and then bringing in the creativity and putting it into a STEAM classroom and seeing if we can see more generations of students going into our STEAM and STEM activities.
Where are you at in your research at the moment?
I'm in the process now of ethics approval, so that we're going into actual schools and designing the activities, so setting students up and doing the research and looking at both their cognitive load and self-efficacy, and seeing how that then also impacts on what careers that they're wanting to pick. So are they looking at history? Are they looking at STEM fields? Are they looking at English fields? And it's also identifying if they only associate creativity with the arts fields and not just STEM fields. So they're not even considering STEM if they feel creative.
Maybe that's why the A is really important in the acronym.
Absolutely.
Even if as a design and technologies teacher, I don't use STEAM, I would say that I am a STEM teacher or a teacher of STEM. And if I'm using, if I'm doing a project in class, I probably wouldn't have the A in there. But for students to associate the creativity, I think you might just need the A in there for them to activate.
We do. I've been a STEM teacher for such a long period of time, and the research into how STEM as an acronym evolved, we've been really using it only since the 90s, and it's a really politicalized acronym that we use. But when we're in the classroom, we're not talking the scientific process or the engineering process. Students can learn them to be quite dry, but really, in actual fact, there's points within those processes that you have to think outside the square. You have to be really creative in your thinking, and you have to be really broad, and we just don't see that as much as we really should. And students need to associate that artistic, that creativity side within our sciences. So a lot of my classes always involved in silly music clips, lots of posters, songs. I have some awesome songs that my students have written as part of their learning process, and it really does actually cement the information in much better than I would had I been getting them to write it down.
And does that then go hand in hand with confidence? You mentioned before the confidence and loving learning, and then that increases their confidence because they are involved in play, something that's more engaging to do.
Absolutely. We know that children learn by play. We know that their happiness and their enjoyment is absolutely vital to that learning process. And so by engaging...
Give me a mum, do you want to pause? It's all right.
He's fine. He's hungry. What was I saying?
Creativity, the song.
Creativity. I think creativity enables students to learn in different manners, and by providing lots of links to that same information by learning in different modalities allows students to then engage that information and transfer it into their long-term memory. And that then gives us that ability to reach students who wouldn't otherwise be connected with the learning, because they're not learning in the manner in which they are best learning.
And you talked about favoured strategies alongside brainstorming. Do you have any more suggestions for strategies that are good pedagogies in when you are in a STEAM or STEM classroom that you've found in your research so far?
I have always found getting students up and moving around. There really is a lot to having a student getting up and physically enacting activities. So one of my favourite ones has always been with Year 8s, when learning about solids, liquids and gases, and the particle density is actually having them be particles trying to move when they're densely packed, a little bit close but still touching as a liquid, and then further apart as gases, and how quickly can you move in that. And it really gives them a very concrete idea of
physical
what
sense.
These particles are doing.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you, Catherine.
That's all right. Thanks.
Did you want to have any closing comments before I stop recording, or are you happy to?
I'm happy. I hope that I've been able to explain how my connection between cognitive load and creativity are pretty vital in our classrooms.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks.